All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 654 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And if you notice the screen, if you're looking at this on YouTube and Rumble, it looks normal again. My computer is back up and running. I had to remove a hard drive. I had a faulty hard drive that was making my computer go haywire. So that's what the problem was. And yeah, we're back in business. So this is awesome. I'm so happy for that because I was about to throw this computer out of the window. But nevertheless, we're going to get into this episode. We're going to talk some Georgia Southern. I ran across this website probably about 2 or 3 days ago. And I didn't want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it today because we're getting closer to the game. And this looks like it's going to be the depth chart of the team. From what I've been looking at and scanning over and looking at the roster, looks like this is what we're going to be dealing with when the game is starting on the Citadel game that's going to be this upcoming Saturday. So this look like it's going to be the depth chart. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on what I think of it and just go from there. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And I can be found on X at VF Baller, and the website is firstandframerates.com. Let's go ahead and get right into this because I'm actually pretty excited. The Georgia Southern Eagles has a really big overhaul of their offense. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not even talking about from the year before to 2021 to 2022. I'm looking at 2022, 2023. It's a pretty big overhaul. A lot of names that you've seen before, but the way this looks like it's going to be a pretty good looking team because of all the names that you see in yellow. A lot of these guys are new faces and they're in new places. And like I said, the overhaul is real because on offense, we got some guys that are in place that's actually, a little surprising. I'm actually surprised that a couple of these guys are in place. And there's some names that really stands out. So I'm definitely going to talk about that. We're going to start with the offense first. And I know this, before I start, this depth chart is pretty much unofficial. It's not on Georgia Southern football website. It's basically on ourlads.com. I will put the link down in the description if you want to look at it. This looks pretty legit based on what I say. I don't see much of a difference from what I see on the I don't think there's gonna be too much of a difference than what we see here. So this is pretty much it in my opinion. There may be some little changes, but nevertheless, we're gonna go from the bottom up when it comes to the offense. So if I have let's see if I have my pointer. My pointer's not on the screen, so it's okay. So we're gonna start with down here where the running backs are. Jalen White, he is RB1. Kind of knew that was gonna be the case. OJ Arnold, RB2. I can see that as well because he was a standout freshman last year, going to his sophomore year. The third person in line, though, is Terrence Gibbs. He's worked his way from having a knee injury, pretty much working his way back into the lineup, and it's showing right here. He's going to be third. He's going to be third on the list. Now, what does this mean? It means he's going to get some playing time. He's going to play. So Jalen White is going to be the bell cow. You have OJ Arnold. He's going to be the guy who can do a little bit of everything. And Terrence Gibbs, you could probably see this going to be like the breakout guy. Like you want to see him break off a run or whatever. He has a little bit of balance of both, but he's going to be the one that's going to catch the defenses off guard. Tyler Jordan, you see what he can do as well. And Robert Edwards III, redshirt freshman, is rounding up the running backs. Now, when we go to the quarterbacks, you already know what's going on here. Davis Brin is going to be our quarterback transfer from Tulsa. Right behind him is J.C. French. A lot of people are talking really highly of J.C. French. And he probably is going to be the next guy in line once Davis Brin ends up moving on to greener pastures, but possibly to the NFL. Then Bo Allen is right behind him. But I think Bo Allen, this is why I think this is unofficial, because I think Bo Allen was declared as ineligible for this season. Now, I could be wrong, but I think it was Bo Allen. Quote me if I'm wrong, or don't quote me if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong, and we'll just go from there. Now, Colton Fitzgerald, another redshirt sophomore, transfer from Boise State. I got a lot of, I'm going to put a lot of stock in him. I think he's going to be another guy that can turn some heads. So it's going to be real interesting how he plays out if he, is going to be able to hang around or whatever. And Davis Dallas, the redshirt freshman, is rounding out the 5th spot on the quarterback roster or the depth chart. Now we're looking at tight ends. Keaton Upshaw coming from Kentucky is going to be our tight end number 1, right behind J.J. McCaffrey, which I honestly thought that J.J. was going to be moving on. I thought it was his last year, but he's back again. So our tight end, our tight end room looks really, really good. So that is going to be that's going to be something that defense is going to have a nightmare with, let alone our receivers. Then you got Evan Lester, Bo Johnson, which is another Georgia Southern fan favorite, and Ethan Durham rounds out the tight ends. Right tackle, we got Bryson Broadway, transfer from Georgia State. Got a Panther in the house, but we're going to make some things happen with him. He's starting at right tackle. Right behind him is Rasheed Miller. Then you got the right guard, Khalil Crowder. Chandler Armstrong is going to be the guard. He's going to be the center. Pashawn Wembley, the standout freshman from last year, will be the left guard. He's done very well at that position, even from a standpoint as a freshman. And the 7th year senior Brian Miller is going to round out the starters. So behind that, Brian Miller is going to be Carter Griffin. Behind Pashawn Wembley is going to be Aaron Pyron. And behind Chandler Strong is going to be Norris Bryson. I'm not sure. I don't know where he transferred from. I don't want to really say. I want to say it was from Georgia, but I think that's not correct. But I can't really think of off the top of my head. Caleb Cook is going to be behind Khalil Crowder, and we already talked about Rasheed Miller. Now, this is the dynamic part of the offense, the wide receivers. The ex-wide receiver, Anthony Quealy, redshirt senior from Syracuse. Right behind him is Marcus Sanders, a standout freshman that played pretty good last year. He's going to be right behind Anthony Quealy. Then Josh Dallas is going to be behind him of the X. The Z receiver, Durham Burgess, phenomenal season last year until he got hurt. Hopefully he will bounce back and do some great things. Right behind him is Joshua Thompson, another standout freshman who had a couple of good catches last year. And then you have, he had more than a couple. He had about 3 or 4 of them. Parker Self is going to be behind Joshua Thompson. The wide receiver is Caleb Hood. Now, Caleb Hood, this kid, not only he can catch footballs, he's really good at returning punts. Probably going to be back there. I haven't seen that part of the depth chart yet, but we're going to look at that. Then you got Sean Lewis, a redshirt senior transfer. I can't remember where he transferred from. And then you have Sam Kenderson coming off the knee injury. Heard that his knee injury is fully healed, and can't wait to see what he does. The H receiver is Dalen Cobb. Dalen Cobb has stepped up big time. This transition from freshman to sophomore is really, really good. For him to end up being a starter unofficially from where he started out at is absolutely phenomenal. So he's made some really big strides. Behind him is Jalen Barton, the senior transfer from Pitt. And you got the true freshman DeAndre Buchanan behind them. So don't get this twisted. Even though that the depth chart looks like this for the receivers, all these guys are going to get some burn. I already know it. I already know how Coach Helton rolls. A lot of these guys are going to get some time out there, and there's going to be a lot of footballs to catch. And there's going to be a lot of caught footballs because these guys look pretty good. Now, let's go to the defense. We're going to go straight into the defense, and we're going to talk about these guys here on the defensive line. Defensive end, on one end is Isaac Walker, the redshirt sophomore. You got Christian Varner and Latrell Bullard on the inside. You can't beat that. That's going to be a really big problem for a lot of defense. Then you got Deshaun Davis, another guy who played very well as a freshman. Deshaun Davis was one guy that we didn't talk about much. Now, behind Isaac Walker, we got Jacob Ferguson, transfer junior. I can't remember what school he came from. Then you got Miles Winslow behind Jacob Ferguson. Behind Christian Varner, you got Kerryon Smith. Just got a scholarship with the program. Phenomenal. What can you say? And then you have Weston Wallace behind Kerryon Smith. Latrell Bullock's coming in off of a leg injury last year. Trevon Locke is going to be behind him. And Elhad Fall, I think I said that right. Elhad Fall is going to be behind Mr. Locke. Deshaun Davis, like I said, he's going to be the starter. MJ Stroud is going to be behind Deshaun Davis, and Davion Rhodes is going to foul out the rest of the right defensive ends. Linebackers, Quadri Jackson, and then you got Devon Gilmore behind him, then Jalen Jackson, the senior, and Reed Dedman. That's the wing linebacker. The middle linebacker is a weak linebacker. Then you have the middle linebacker, the standout Marquez Watson Trent, redshirt junior. You got Terrion Lee behind Marquez Watson Trent, which not necessarily surprise out, but Terrion Lee, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people as well. Redshirt senior from Texas A&M. You got John Ferguson, redshirt senior as well. Now, we're going to jump to the cornerbacks. The secondary has been beefed up after we lost a few guys. And we got Jalen Denton. He's returning, and he's going to be, he's from Ole Miss. He's going to be the left cornerback. And you got Mari Wingard returning as well from Elon. He's going to be behind Jalen Dent. TJ Smith, the strong safety transfer from K-State. He's going to be the starting strong safety. Then you have Justin Myers, and you have Chris Crouch. He is a transfer as well. I just can't remember where he came from as well. Cam Williams, redshirt senior from Washington. That safety, those two safeties, that's going to be really nice to have back there. And he got Tyrell Davis, redshirt sophomore, bouncing back from an injury. Had a very good offseason, so it's going to be really interesting to see how he plays when he does get the chance to get on the field, because he's looked really good in the offseason. DeMel Hickman, right cornerback. For the right cornerback, I think he's from East Carolina. Yes, he's from East Carolina. There's a lot of high hopes on him as well. So with this starting secondary, this looks really good. I mean, you got 3 transfers coming in, and Jalen Denton basically say he's another one, even though he played for us last year. You got a lot of guys. You got a lot of experience with these guys in the secondary. But after us losing, Canteen and Wilson, and I think we lost another person back there. We got some guys that's going to just basically step in like it's nothing. Mark Stampley is the nickelback. I think that is a very good spot for him, because at nickelback he can handle smaller receivers, he can tackle, and he has speed to keep up with those speed receivers that may be in the slot. That is a very good position for him. And you got Chase Dow Watson behind Mark Stampley. Special teams, punter, we got Alex Smith. He is the kicker he's the punter from Australia. Bradbury Walker, or Walker Bradbury, is going to be behind him. And you got Matthew Daniel behind him as well. The place kicker and the kicker on kickoff is going to be Michael Lance, transfer from Minnesota. Brendan Frank is going to be behind him, and Chase Foser is behind him, Mr. Frank. Long snapper is Colin Springer. Wheeler Jackson is behind him. Mark Langston is behind him, and you got Wood Gaines all the way back there on the fourth. That rounds out the long snappers in fourth position. Holder is going to be Matthew Daniel, and Bradbury Walker and Alex Smith is going to be behind them. Punt return, like I said, there you got Caleb Hood right there, going to be the punt returner. Jalen Barton is behind him, and then OJ Arnold, then Mark Stampley, which is really interesting. They got Mark Stampley back there. That's interesting. Kickoff returns, you're going to have OJ Arnold and Caleb Hood at kickoff. OJ Arnold has done very well at kickoff, and you already know what Caleb Hood is capable of. So that basically rounds out the unofficial depth chart. Like I said, this is unofficial because I don't believe that the one is out yet at gseagles.com, but I will put the link to this depth chart down in the description if you want to get an idea. This looks pretty legit. I don't see where anything that's going to be moved around. If anybody has an insight to know, let me know. I mean, I'm not really, I'm not really against knowing what I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's really actually pretty fascinating to see how this team has changed. This looks like a completely different team from 2 years ago. Completely different team. Like last year, you kind of saw some of the guys from last year was just transitioning over to be under Coach Clay Helton, but now you see this team and it's like they look totally different. I mean, outside of Caleb Hood and a few other guys, I mean, those are like the holder, like Tyrell Davis. Those guys are pretty much like holdovers. I mean, like this entire team just look like it's just been completely changed over from the Chad Lunsford era. I mean, I'm trying to think. You got Sam Kinnerson from that era. I'm trying to think who else. Brian Miller, obviously. I'm trying to think anybody else I see. There's probably a few more names that I don't see off the top. J.J. McCaffrey, Bo Johnson, none of the quarterback. Jalen White is one of them. I think Tyler Jordan is as well. When it comes to the defense, you got Christian Varner. I think he was. No, I take that back. I don't think he was. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure. Let me see. On this defense, I don't see anybody. I think the last few guys that was with, I think Marquise Watson Trent was one. I think he was a freshman at the time. I want to say Varner and Jackson came in the year right before Coach Clay Helton came in. I want to say that. I know Jalen Jackson is one. Dedman is another. I think that's pretty much it. I don't see anyone else. Very interesting at the end of the day, how many people that we changed over. Caleb Hood, obviously, I think I said that name already. But I'm going to get up out of here. I think I said enough. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Let people know what we're doing over here. Share this podcast. Season is about to start, people, and we want to get those subscribe numbers up. We want to get those likes up. We want to get this channel up rocking and rolling. So hopefully we'll get that going. I am on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Also, I am on X at VFBaller, and the website is firstandframerates.com. I'm going to get up out of here. I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll probably be doing a little pregame on both of the games, the Citadel game and the Panthers game. So that probably will round out and that'll put a cap on this week. So see y'all guys next time. You guys take it easy and y'all be blessed. Peace.